On this Monday night, new urgency to Alberta's COVID crisis. Why doctors are pleading for a tight lockdown.
Take some action to help correct it.
And why the Premier is pushing back. The future of Canada's relationship with China.
Maybe it's a sign that they are telling the rest of the world, look, hostage diplomacy works.
And why Washington's help was critical to freeing the two Michaels. The Greens lose their leader.
It has been the worst period in my life.
What's next for the party plagued by infighting? And new clues on when humans first set foot in North America.
This discovery is pretty staggering.
How scientists are a step closer to solving an ancient mystery.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. We begin in Alberta, where the number of people ending up in ICU with COVID-19 keeps growing, and doctors are now pleading for what they call a firebreak lockdown. Without it, they say, COVID case counts will keep rising and overwhelmed hospital staff won't be able to maintain a high standard of care. Premier Jason Kenney, though, is resisting calls to bring in tougher restrictions. ICU capacity is now at 84%, but that includes the extra beds that have already been added and the beds that have opened up because people have died. Without those extra beds, the system would be at 180% capacity. The vast majority of COVID-19 patients are not fully vaccinated, and the situation could escalate as more people become infected. More than 10% of people in Alberta being tested for COVID-19 right now are testing positive. Heather Yourex-West spoke with one of those unvaccinated patients about his near-death experience and his regrets. She has our top story tonight.
I was scared, and I didn't know what was going on, like whether or not I would live or not.
Bernie Cook is not afraid to say he was wrong. The 46-year-old underestimated the Delta variant. He had held strong opinions against the vaccine, and because of that, he almost died.
I had a lot of reasons to not vaccinate. One, I'm a healthy guy. It's pneumonia. You know, I was like, I can fight that. Boy, was I wrong.
Cook spent 11 days on a ventilator, one of hundreds of Alberta COVID patients in intensive care. The system is overwhelmed, and from the inside, Cook could feel the stress and strain.
All of us that were in ICU and are flooding the COVID wards, we were only focused about ourselves. We weren't thinking about other people.
He shares his regret now in the hopes that others won't make his mistake. But across the province, the sick keep coming. It's why Alberta's former Chief Medical Officer of Health is among those now calling for more public health restrictions. Getting people vaccinated will help in the longer term. But right now, he says, Alberta needs to shut down places that allow indoor gatherings.
What I figure is going to happen is that the Minister and Premier will continue to not take any action, and we will continue to lose 100 Albertans a week.
But speaking to Chorus Radio on Sunday, Alberta's Premier was resistant to the idea.
First of all, that makes no sense for the 80% of the population that's vaccinated, who are at much lower levels of risk of transmission and extremely lower level risks of hospitalization. But secondly, it's the roughly 20% of the adult population who are unvaccinated who are less likely to observe public health measures.
Alberta Health Services has not yet started its critical care triage protocol or transferred any patients out of province for care. But the only reason this province has been able to manage the growing demand is because so many patients in ICUs have died. Donna?
Heather Yourex-West in Calgary, thank you. Alberta, like much of the country, requires proof of vaccination to go to public places like restaurants. It's up to the businesses and their employees to check people's vaccination status and enforce the rules. The vast majority of times there's no problem, but some staff have faced threats and intimidation. Jamie Mauracher reports.
Bill Mafuz and his staff just want to be safe while serving up sandwiches. But during the first week enforcing Ontario's proof of vaccination program, he's already faced violence.
And he threatened to come back and fill up his truck with bricks and destroy the place.
The anger, he says, has come in person, online, and over the phone.
It's just really unfair and to take out frustrations on these young adults, you know, trying to work.
Outside Calgary, threats forced this restaurant owner to temporarily close to indoor diners entirely.
The comments that were coming at us were significant enough that we didn't feel confident or safe in opening the doors and having our staff having to deal with this backlash.
Vaccine passports are a reality in most provinces and already required in BC, Alberta, Manitoba, Ontario, and Quebec.
It does place, extra pressure on small business that are already feeling a lot of pressure.
Without intervention, experts say businesses will continue to bear the brunt of the bad behavior.
These are government policies, and if people are unhappy, they should be raising that with their elected politicians.
At Canada's busiest mall over the weekend, police arrested 2 people after anti-vaccine protesters stormed the Eaton Centre. Ontario's Minister of Labour and Minister of Health offered little more than platitudes.
Angry confrontations where people can be hurt is not all right.
You can't refuse me service.
But it's happening. Near Kingston, this coffee shop owner was berated after asking a maskless man to wait outside.
You're what's wrong with this country. I hope you understand that. Get out of my coffee shop!
Rattled and down a customer. For some, following the rules means losing a sale.
10 to 15 customers a day, it adds up.
Taking a hit on profit while just trying to do their part to protect patrons. Jamie Mauracher, Global News, Toronto.
Now, to the relationship between China and Canada. China maintains there's no connection between the release of the 2 Michaels and the return of Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou. Much of the world, though, considers it a case of hostage diplomacy. And as Abigail Bimman reports, how Canada navigates its relationship with China now is complicated.
Canada should learn a lesson, said China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Monday, and not do dirty work for the U.S.
Blaming us, and it's like if they have not understood anything or they feel so confident that they still want to put us in our place. And there, I think they may be mistaken.
China insisting Meng Wanzhou's case was one of political persecution, completely different from those of Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor, even though the 2 planes carrying everyone home in opposite directions were in the air at the same time, after more than a 1,000-day dispute.
In the world's mind, there's no doubt that the 2 arrests are related.
The White House also bristled at the suggestion what happened was a prisoner swap.
There is no link. We have an independent Justice Department that made independent decisions, law enforcement decisions. At the same time, we have made no secret about our push to have the 2 Michaels released.
It's stranger and gets stranger. I understand why, I don't agree with, but I understand why China doesn't want there to be a linkage. They're very sensitive to this charge of hostage diplomacy, even if it fits, which I think it does in this instance.
A former Canadian Foreign Affairs Minister says Kovrig and Spavor would not be in their houses without the White House.
Canadians should acknowledge and should be grateful that President Biden clearly made solving the Meng Wanzhou issue for China conditional upon the release of the 2 Michaels. There's no other way this would have happened. Had there not been linkage.
Based on his experience with the Kevin Garrett negotiations, another Canadian formerly imprisoned in China, Guy Saint-Jacques, says China could have put a big ask of Canada on the table, a guarantee Justin Trudeau would attend at the opening ceremonies of the upcoming Beijing Olympics, or even approval of Huawei's 5G network, a decision yet to be finalized.
They might have been tempted to ask that because they know that we were eager to get the 2 Michaels back, and they but this would have been a real big ask.
While experts may not agree on the best approach going forward with China, they agree the most important thing for now.
We are so happy now. I'm so delighted to be back home with my family and to be back in Canada.
Kovrig and Spavor are back. Abigail Bimman, Global News, Ottawa.
I want to say that there is a struggle that is going on for the soul of the party. For those of you that want to see the Green Party fulfill its promise and its values, then there is work to do.
That is Green Party leader Annamie Paul. She says she doesn't have the heart to stay on as leader. After less than a year at the helm, she resigned today. Paul became the first Jewish woman and the first Black person to lead a major federal political party. But since the day she took over from Elizabeth May, she's been attacked by party insiders and then lost her own seat in the election. The party didn't flourish under her. It barely survived. As Richard Zussman reports, the question now is, what's next?
I just don't have the heart for it.
Under attack from her own party, both before and during its unsuccessful federal election campaign, Annamie Paul is out as Green leader.
When you head into an election being, again, under the threat of a court process from your party, it's going to be very hard to convince people to vote for your party.
The results bear that out. The Greens going from 6.5% of the popular vote nationally 2 years ago to just 2.3% this time.
When I was elected and put in this role, I was breaking a glass ceiling. What I didn't realize at the time is that I was breaking a glass ceiling that was going to fall on my head and leave a lot of shards of glass that I was going to have to crawl over.
The experience so difficult, she says, she felt she could not carry on.
For all of those people who are disappointed, for all of the supporters who wrote and asked me to please continue, please know that this was not easy. It has been extremely painful. It has been the worst period in my life.
There are now questions about what Paul's short stint as leader, Canada's first black federal party leader, says about larger problems of systemic racism in Canadian politics.
There's a number of institutional blockages to in expanding diversity and inclusion in the House of Commons. The electoral system is absolutely one.
And for the Greens, questions about relevance. It dropped seats in New Brunswick and BC, adding only one new MP in Ontario. Now that virtually every federal party leader has a climate plan, experts say the Greens need to find a new way to stand out beyond the environment.
I hope there's a growing consensus that we all need to be on board in terms of climate change as a critical issue. So what does a Green Party do?
Former leader Elizabeth May has been criticized for not doing more to support Paul. May turned down interview requests Monday, leaving these words from a speech to supporters election night on where the party stands.
We do have to do a lot of soul searching as a party as to where the preparations for the election fell so far short.
There's no timeline for when a new leader for the Greens will be chosen. Richard Zussman, Global News, Victoria.
A rescue operation is underway near Sudbury, Ontario, for 39 miners trapped underground since yesterday afternoon. They are deep inside a shaft of the Vale Totten mine, a copper and nickel operation just west of Sudbury. The company says the workers became trapped after an incident in the shaft Sunday afternoon. The company says the 39 miners are at refuge stations and are safe. It's hoped they'll reach the surface tonight using a ladder system. New York's mandate to vaccinate. Coming up, the healthcare workers who would rather give up their jobs than get the jab. Plus, the verdict is in. Singer R. Kelly learns his fate. U.S. President Joe Biden got a COVID-19 booster shot today. American regulators recommend a booster of the Pfizer vaccine for anyone over age 65 and for adults who are at increased risk. Biden, who is 78, qualified because he received his second Pfizer vaccine more than 6 months ago. The U.S. has more vaccine doses than any country in the world, yet uptake has stalled, and the U.S. has fallen far behind the rest of the Western world in administering COVID vaccines. According to Johns Hopkins University, less than 56% of Americans are fully vaccinated. The U.S. now ranks 42nd in the world. And as Jackson Proskow reports, strategies to convince the holdouts don't seem to be working.
Decision day in New York, where healthcare workers faced a choice: get vaccinated or lose their jobs. Nurse Diana Marciano is one of the holdouts.
I'm scared because they're threatening my livelihood.
With doctors and nurses already stretched thin, losing just a few workers could tip some hospitals into crisis.
Very nervous. My coworkers and I can't stop talking about how nervous we are.
The state's governor has suggested deploying the National Guard to deal with the potential staffing shortage, but isn't backing down.
I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of talking about COVID.
Controversial as they may be, mandates have proven highly effective, from the U.S. military to private companies like United Airlines, which reports 98% of staff have now taken the jab.
The vaccine mandate pushback that we're getting seems to really follow the lines of the pushback that we've gotten all along about many of the mitigation strategies to try to prevent and control COVID-19.
Still, it's too little too late to blunt the current surge, which is killing an average of 2,000 Americans every single day.
That distinct minority is causing an awful lot of us, an awful lot of damage for the rest of the country.
That has given more ammunition to mandate backers, who argue the cost of not requiring immunization has proven to be far too high. The U.S. remains the global outlier in the pandemic and is still responsible for nearly a quarter of the new COVID cases recorded every single day on the planet. At the same time, this country has thrown out more than 15 million doses of vaccine since March that have gone unwanted and expired on shelves. Donna?
All right, Jackson in Washington, thanks. Musician R. Kelly has been convicted of racketeering and sex trafficking. A New York jury found the R&B singer guilty on all counts. Kelly was convicted of luring women and underage girls into his entourage for sexual purposes, a scheme that dates back to the 1990s. The 54-year-old faces trials in 2 other states, also on sex-related charges. Germany's election is over, but the results are unclear ahead. Who might take over from Angela Merkel? Residents on the eastern shore of La Palma, Spain, are being ordered to lock down as lava gushes towards the Atlantic Ocean. The lava, which reaches temperatures of 1,200 degrees Celsius, could cause explosions and release toxic gases when it hits the water. Scientists think the volcanic activity is starting to slow. It's no longer releasing large clouds of ash and molten rock, but more than 500 buildings have been buried in lava and more than 6,000 people have been displaced. There is a political upheaval in Germany tonight. The center-left Social Democrats narrowly defeated outgoing Chancellor Angela Merkel's party in yesterday's election. It's not clear who will govern, though. Coalition negotiations are now underway. As Redmond Shannon reports, the election is over, and now the hard part for Europe's biggest economy begins.
Angela Merkel is taking a back seat as the haggling to succeed her begins. Her current government partners, the centre-left Social Democrats, leapfrogged her conservative Christian Democrats in Sunday's election. Their candidate is Merkel's steady-handed Vice-Chancellor, Olaf Scholz.
We will be very fast in getting a result for this government, and it should be before Christmas if possible.
But with the two parties so close, Christian Democrat candidate Armin Laschet says he has the right to try to form a government too, even after their historically low result. But it's the Green Party and the pro-business Free Democrats who are set to be kingmakers. They could choose Laschet for a 3-party black, green, yellow or Jamaica coalition, or team up with Scholz for a so-called traffic light coalition. Analysts say the latter is more likely given Germany's poor record on emissions.
Activists who also support the Green Party, they feel, the Conservatives had their chance at doing something about climate change for decades now, and they haven't done so.
Laschet's leadership credentials took a hit when he was seen laughing during a visit to the scene of the deadly floods in Western Germany. Some of his colleagues say he needs to quit for the party's sake.
If the CDU were to change horse now after this election, this would be unprecedented, but not unthinkable. Then there may be a new opening, but only after the traffic light negotiations.
Previous coalition negotiations between two parties have taken months, so don't be surprised if Merkel is still caretaker chancellor come 2022. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
In Britain, fuel pumps are running dry because of a shortage of truck drivers and a weekend of panic gas buying. People lined up for hours to fill their cars. The Petrol Retailers Association says about 2/3 of its members have run out of gas. The UK has lost as many as 100,000 truckers because of an aging workforce and an exodus of foreign workers after Britain left the European Union. Fossil footprints next, the ancient tracks that could have big implications for human history. We humans certainly leave our mark on the planet, and sometimes even our footsteps can tell a tale. Scientists in New Mexico have found tracks left behind by prehistoric pedestrians, people who lived alongside mammoths and walked the edges of a vanished Ice Age lake more than 20,000 years ago. Eric Sorensen explains the big implications for human history.
The vast and dry gypsum landscape in what is now New Mexico was once a giant lake. Archaeologists began digging through the layers of sediment laid down over tens of thousands of years, and then, clear as day, they came upon this, fossilized human footprints. Carbon dating of ancient seeds found among the footprints suggested a time long before it was thought possible. More testing of more layers confirmed the footprints were children walking by an ancient lake almost 10,000 years before we thought humans had arrived in North America.
Radiocarbon dating with a very high degree of certainty, and we were astounded at just how old they turned out to be.
In Africa, skulls of Homo sapiens date earlier than 100,000 years ago. From there, great migrations began, first through the Middle East to South Asia, and later to Australia and to Europe, 40 to 50,000 years ago. More recently, humans crossed over what was then a land bridge that existed between Siberia and North America. It was believed they came only after the glaciers of the last ice age had begun to recede around 13,000 years ago. The new footprint suggests humans came before the ice blocked migration and came to the southwestern U.S. up to 23,000 years ago.
This discovery is pretty staggering because it says people were actually here before those routes closed up.
It's believed the early humans in North America would have coexisted with mastodons and other primitive species. They may well have been the forebears of the indigenous people in the Americas. And the study suggests an early society existed here for at least 2,000 years.
You can just kind of picture the kids. It's like, oh, let's go down, play by the lake. Or their parents say, go get some water. It's just like step, 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 step. These little glimpses of activity and interaction over time are just fascinating to me.
Scientists say future research should focus on even older, undisturbed surfaces, where there may be earlier evidence of humans we didn't realize were already here. Eric Sorensen, Global News, Toronto.
And that is Global National for this Monday. I'm Donna Friesen. Tonight's Your Canada is Moraine Lake in Banff National Park. We'd love to see Your Canada. Please email it to viewers@globalnational.com. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you here again tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.